And we have a very nice panel between the industry association represented by Cristina César Vieira as executive director of the Hotel Association. The investment side, Cristina Garcia Peri is the new star in the room because representing Azora made very significant buys. Francisco Sotomayor is also a new player in the tourism and leisure, and with a very big splash by the iconic Vila Moura. Pedro Seabra is a tycoon of this industry, but now running the hotel vehicle. And many thanks to Amarildo da Caldeira that will give us an architect point of view. Welcome all. I do not resist to become with Cristina Garcia Peri. You made one of the most important transactions in hotel. And in fact there was not one, it was three. So please let us know what was your rationale to invest in hotels in Portugal.
Well, thank you, first of all, Antonio, for having me here again. It's a pleasure, and it's even more of a pleasure because, as you were saying, we've just invested over the last 12 months over 200 million euros in hotels in Portugal. We like this country very, very much. And I was very pleased to hear everything that the chairman of Turismo de Portugal has just said. We like Portugal because we think it's a fantastic destination, highly consolidated, with great assets, but that it's also a destination that has significant growth ahead. I think everyone is doing a very good job in Portugal, the government, the associations, the operators. And so investors feel extremely comfortable with our investments here. In fact, we still expect to invest significantly more in this country. Just to give you a sense, all the investors in our fund, it's a pan-European fund. We are investing in touristic hotels across Europe. We have 815 million of capital commitments. All of them are international investors, and they are extremely comfortable with us investing in the Portuguese market. And the investments that we've made in the Algarve, also in Lisbon, we have a small asset in Lisbon. We are extremely happy and looking forward to invest more.
So anyone having an hotel to sell, you know the important lady. Well, Francisco, a little bit the same question regarding Vila Moura. Well, I will be a little bit unpolite because Francisco was trying to sell the asset as CBRE and then bought it as Norfin. I'm sorry to tell about this. So my question is, why buying Vila Moura, and with whom you were bidding with to buy Vila Moura?
With whom or against whom? Okay. So first of all, thank you for having me. Very happy to be here against such a distinguished panel. I feel like a newcomer in light of all the joint experience here with my colleagues. We're very excited about the acquisition that we made. Norfin does not have a track record of managing real estate touristic assets. So for us, it's also in a way a novelty, although we have experience within the team, not within the company. We are very excited with the prospect, and the reason for acquiring it is that we felt it was the right time to take that destination and bring it to a different level. That we thought it was owned by the nature and by the history of the destination. We saw the opportunity. I think the timing was right, and I think things came out together very well. Now we have to deliver. So now the fun starts.
But also because you are a believer on the tourism and leisure industry.
Sure,
and
of course.
You see...
No, we see definitely the potential, and we see more and more Vila Moura as a destination that comprises, of course, a lot of what tourism in Portugal has to offer. But also, you know, we like the second-hand market, and we like the fundamentals that we see within that specific market. And I think the blend of that and everything that's happening, you know, across the world and all the trends make us feel really comfortable that we've made the right move.
I need, coming to here at Seabra, I need to confess that I'm a regular guest of the IGM hotels. So we have a special, so times 2 times. Every time I go to the IGM hotel, then Pedro gives me a call and asks if I was properly attended or not. And so I'm a testimony of seeing the major improving in the hotel operation that the IGM has made over the last few years. My question is, what is your feeling about the perception of the interest of investors? And if you can say a little bit, who is knocking your door from the investment side? And who is in the room looking for hotel and leisure investment?
Well, thank you very much. Very pleased to be here after 2 years. And I must say that most of you that I know and I haven't seen for the last 2 years, you all look younger. And, and it's a pleasure to see you all. I think there's a lot of interest in investing in Portugal, in tourism, in hospitality. The investment in hospitality have changed over the years. For a long time, there wasn't the number of investors that were prepared to buy hotels were scarce. People would buy hotels with a leasing contract, but not with a management contract, and for a long time. That has been changing, and now we see much more investors looking at buying hospitality and believing on the traditional management contract that you have with operators. Having said so, there's a lot of investment in hospitality these days in the world and in Europe, and there's a shift from acquisitions made by operators to acquisitions made by private equity firms. A clear shift. So today, all the major players, or most of the major players of private equity or investment funds that have been acquiring other asset classes are looking at hospitality. So there's a big change in the market, and that's why hospitality today, it's an investment class that wasn't 4 or 5 years ago.
For the Cristina Xavier and then to Margarida, now I can sleep in Lisbon for a very, very, very affordable price still. So in September I slept in a very nice 4-star hotel for 70 euros, which is not so good. My question is, how is doing the recovery of the hotel industry? AHP runs the Hotel Monitor, which is a major data bank to track hotel performance, and what the pandemic changed for hotels. And then I will come to also to Margarida to give us the architectural point of view, what your clients are demanding. Cristina, what the figures look like?
What? Sorry?
How the
market
figures
is now
looks like?
Well, first of all, thank you for the invitation and for being here. It's really a pleasure to see alive and kicking so many people. In one hand, the government grants were forceful and on time at the beginning of the pandemic. That, on top of 2 good years that the companies have, we had high levels of equity and cash, so helped us to survive and to cross the desert. But as Luís Araújo highlighted, 70% of our room nights in Portugal are from international tourism. That's why we we are such an important export sector, and the weight that we have in the balance of payments. So the total shutdown of the international tourism, of course, left scars in the industry. And one of the scars, as you've pointed, is that the prices in Lisbon, particularly because of the business tourism, is completely out of our hotels nowadays, is that most of them closed, and now they are opening, yes, hoping that spring 2022 will bring more business, but until then, I think that we are at razor's edge. So we need the measures and the grants of the government to continue, just to let us across the low season and mid-seasons, and to be alive and at spring 2022. And we do hope that this will happen, as Luís pointed out also, because of the airline companies are taking the planes off the floor because they are losing money. So we expect that in 2022 business is coming to roll again, but not at 2019 levels, but it will begin to see the light at the end of the tunnel.
I don't know if I can dare to chase Luís Araújo to ask anything about TAP. Yes. Are you willing to they fly? Well, but one person was telling me, ask Luís Araújo how many planes are flying from Faro to any European capital. How many? You want?
Many more than 5 years ago.
Okay. So, I'm not really sure about this, and TAP is really an issue. But let's not divert from what we are talking here. And Margarida, I was coming to you. You were making the old renew of one of the most known hotels in the city center of Lisbon, Tivoli Hotel. If today you are visiting the work you have done everything the same, or the pandemic will change the view you make this revive of Tivoli?
Thank you very much for the question. Good question. Actually, yesterday, it was my birthday, some of you will know because I shared.
Congratulations.
And, thank you, and I chose going to Tivoli Lisboa in the afternoon to pampering myself, because I was thinking, you know, I designed this some years ago, I never use it, let's go and try. And I've done that. I was quite I felt well when I came into that lobby, and the lobby was buzzing and it was light that previously with the ones that visit the hotel, you remember it was quite dark. So it was a pleasant surprise. I was thinking, yeah, I of course you can always do better, but I think we use the money with the right things. I must admit that when I saw starting to break all that ceiling, I was really worried. I was thinking, oh my gosh, if something happened in this hotel, because it was very brave from the minor group accepting a suggestion of opening the whole roof and opening a huge big... We were contracted just to do some interiors, and then certainly was better. And I was very pleased to know that Cristina was saying that they bought Tivoli Carvoeiro, and the first time that I visited Tivoli Carvoeiro, I couldn't even know where was the entrance. So sense of arrival is important. I would just say that if you understand the building, you can really help the assets in improving the value.
the pandemic will change the way you will design hotels in future. A little bit also to Cristina, is people taking this opportunity to look again to the layouts, to the size of the rooms, or it will be business as usual and let's forget masks and 2nd of October, life goes on.
Well, thank you for the question. It's a $1 million question, really. It's too soon to know which trends are here to stay or which one are due to the sanitary measures and will go away. But there's some things that we know for sure. One is that if we build hotels from scratch, of course they will be different. They will be particularly focused on sustainability of electricity, waste, water, etc., and digitalization. For sure, these two trends that are not new, but they are something that will be reinforced in the future. But in Portugal, as we know, most of the mature countries have, and building from scratch will not need public funding. So private, as Pedro and Francisco was saying, private funding will, and Cristina knows it for sure, will be there to build new if they can. But public funding will not be for building from scratch, but to convert these old hotels in something new and, again, focus on sustainability and digital transition. And that needs a lot of money.
This is getting better.
I don't know, always play music, but it's still early to play music.
Other things.
Can anyone tell that to the band that's not still time? Well,
so some adaptations, as I said, were implemented just to face sanitary measures, but others, like responding to market needs or to niches, like digital nomads, that will lead us to another reflection. This, for example, the digital nomads, they don't need just a room with a bathroom. So, but do they need more co-working spaces, or do they need in their apartment larger areas for having friends or having a small kitchen, or do they prefer common areas? So hotels are adapting to niches, are adapting to nature, are adapting to those more consumers more focused on sustainability. And for example, I've noticed the brand of Palácio Estoril, Grand and Cozy. So Cozy and Grand, they were incompatible, but now they are something that we want to share with the others and to sell. We can be grand, we can be luxury, and we can be cozy at the same time, because we know that the consumers, in fact, looks at tourism with more careful, with those profile of the sustainable, the inclusive tourism, those who in fact are focused on purpose, on people, on planet. And I don't know for sure if that pays, and if you will pay more for a room in Tivoli or etc. If you know that the company is fulfilling these principles, but it's not an option anymore. It's not a nice to have, it is a must have, and the public funding, as we know, EU Next Generation, etc., will be focused on transforming the industry.
Mm-hmm. Business hotels versus leisure hotels. Pedro, you have both operations. What do you believe most, and what is being most hurt?
That's Pedro to me. Yeah. I just want to complement a little bit, or expand what Cristina was saying. I think that the pandemic effect on the hotels. I think that the pandemic effect was very strong on technology. and technology, the technology of communications, meetings, Zooms, etc., expanded a lot and changed a lot. And that will have an effect probably on the hotels. I think it's more that than, I think that, yes, there's more technology to clean, and we're going to clean better, and we're going to clean with other machines, and we're going to clean with other products, and the hotels will be cleaner, yes. But the size of the rooms probably is not affected by that. But eventually, the whole design, the whole concept is affected by the fact that people is not working in the office that much, or at least as much as they were, and they are meeting in a different way and working in a different way due to technology, because technology have changed a lot. Now, resort in relation to hotels. I think there are two different things that are complementary, and the one thing is for sure is that in the recent past, after a while of being difficult to sell houses in resorts, in the last couple of years they've been easier, and houses in resorts are selling very well. So people are enjoying the idea of being in a house with a garden, and that's something that they've been working in favor of resorts. But I think that hotels and resorts are different things, and resorts with hotels is the best one.
Christina, a little bit the same questions
I wanted to expand on what on what you asked about the impact. I mean, I think we have, right or wrongly, a very strong view about where we want to invest. And the pandemic has obviously affected all hotels, but the recovery of leisure tourism, we are all seeing it, has been dramatic. There was this pent-up demand, and people have started traveling. Maybe to different destinations. One thing that we have noticed is that proximity destinations will become much more popular. Some people, if they can drive or take a train rather than taking the plane, would prefer that for health reasons, but also for sustainability reasons. And you now see all the airlines saying that they are compensating their footprint. Business tourism, we think long-term, will definitely be affected by all the technological advancements and by the fact that now, you know, of all the meetings that we would do in person, probably half, all of us, are going to be able to do them through Zoom. And again, that saves time, that saves carbon footprint. So we think it will recover, and it is starting to recover, at least within Europe, but it will never reach where it was before. And I think you see that in the airlines. But the one that is going to recover the latest, but we think it will recover fully, is this. It's large conferences and gatherings. Because Zoom is not a good substitute for this. You know, if we do this on Zoom, yes, we will listen to one of the panels, and that's it, right? We cannot socialize and meet. So leisure tourism, for sure, we think the trend is unaffected, but we think we will see different destinations. Sports hotels, Portugal, you're privileged. You have the Editorial, Viana do Castelo area with amazing new concepts. Extremely sustainable properties, and that really attracts younger people that wants to go on holidays in a different way and not just lay under the sun. Business tourism will recover later and not to the same extent, and MICE, what we call the MICE business, these large conferences, will take longer, will take maybe still a couple of years. You have been very daring, at which we all appreciate, but we think it will recover, because there's no substitute for this kind of social interaction.
Francisco, o Sotomayor was so kind to give us an interview, and we made a title that he didn't deny, saying, we are buying more hotels. Mm-hmm. So what kind of hotels are you trying to buy, and how do you see this balance between city hotels and more leisure hotels?
Yeah. We believe that the leisure is starting ahead of the more city-like, typical destinations, especially MICE. Although I think this is a good example that people do want to meet and get together again in crowds, with security, but in crowds. And I think there's a trend that will come in the future very clearly, which is, I think the companies feel the need to recreate teams and work groups, etc. So I believe there's a trend in which companies will, encourage teams to meet in person for a week for specific projects in a nice location and a nice setting with some golf or some tennis or whatever. So I think this will come. We feel this need within our teams for people to reconnect and get together in smaller groups and in working groups, and I think this will start to grow. And I think the fact that we have a full room is a good sign, because many of the people, at least the ones that I know they traveled to be here in the hotel in the meeting. So I think there's a thirst for this kind of thing. What we like, what we see, there's all these discussions about COVID, and I think we all agree that more than anything, it's an accelerator of a few things that were already happening. And one of the trends that was already happening is residential turning more into tourism, and tourism turning more into residential on many different levels. More and more residential wants tourist-like service. The concierge stuff. We see a lot of this. More and more hotels are preparing for more extended stays. And someone told me, a good friend told me the other day that, if I'm staying for 10 days in the same hotel, I don't have to have 10 different types of croissants in the morning. It's just a regular breakfast is fine. So I think we'll have to adapt on a number of things. But there is this mix, and we like to play on that, especially because, considering what, the changes in the Golden Visa program, and considering what the private investors are doing within the sector, buying touristic units here and there, and enjoying them and making a profit when they're not using. We think that this is a huge trend, and with the right balance with the hotel product and the touristic/second home product, that's where we see real growth. And that's a bit the angle that we have also for Vila Moura. Not the only angle, but one of them for sure.
Okay, think of your next question, but before I go to the audience, one last reflection with Cristina. Nowadays, we are seeing that the North Africa markets were opening and could become a very strong competition. And with this pandemic and COVID, they shut down again. So Portugal can benefit from the shutdown of these markets being seen as more dangerous. And a part of that, we learn to work on remote, and if Portugal can really benefit to be the right place to live and work remotely, and if you believe this is only blah blah, or if you believe it will really happen.
Sorry, but you wanted to know if I think that this branding of Portugal as being good to live and to work is back on trail. Well, I think that that is so true, and nowadays there is something that we know for sure, that we as consumers, we want us to tell them, politicians, etc., to tell us the truth. So this is truth. This is true, and we have to practice and to show all the characteristics that Luís Araújo pointed out are true. So Portugal is really a safe country, a good country to live, to invest, we have social security, a network of also digital, etc. But let me just say that there's something in the pillar of sustainability that I don't know if it is a challenge, of course it is, and is also a little bit of a menace, because as we all know, the European Green Deal, the 27 EU members committed to turning the EU into the first continent neutral, climate neutral. And that said, they pledged to reduce emissions by at least 55% by 2030 compared to the levels of 1990. And one of the things is the impact that will cause in the travel industry. Because, as Christina said, if nowadays we assisted that short travel were the preferences, because sanitarian reasons, etc., but in the near future, what this more proeminent in tourist choices, the consumer will look at the flight. How will it be designed in the future? So the short travel distances may result in a lower environmental impact of tourism, and Portugal as a peripheric destination, and well, we hope that long-haul flights will come back as soon as possible from Brazil and for the Americas and the United States in particular. This is a challenge. We have to work very, very carefully, because if we want to show Portugal as good to live, good to travel, good to invest, good to make tourism, and how can we address this sustainability pillar?
Perfect. I will ask Regi to show us how he's running our next two-clap vote. And next two-clap vote says in 2022, tourism in Portugal will be fully recovered and above 2019, recover and then close to previous, or still clearly below. We have 28 answers now coming. While you vote, if there is any questions in the room, a microphone is waiting for you. If there is anyone asking for any question, Rogério is our man in service. If anyone wants to address other questions, otherwise I will have.
It's not working.
You can have mine.
Yes. Okay. I'm not instructed to put questions, but we have we have all segments at home. So, as Francisco said, many of the investors in hospitality has been changed the mind to not open and transform the not opening in small apartments. I don't know if this is a big phenomenon already all over the country, or even in Spain, or even in Europe, but we have already some of our clients, not with distress, but our clients alive, that have been able to speak with the financial people and to their network to see how the banks see this transformation. That is one of the important questions. The second one is that the ones who are management hotels and are investing in hotels now are buying apartments. It means they are diversification from the main business to have more cushions or more pocket money if the tourism will be stopped again, because
and if we transform tourists in residents.
Yes, I don't know if this is also happening in Spain. The investments from people who own hotels are now turning around for also other kind of investments. That's the question.
Yeah. Anyone who wants to raise any comment?
Well, I think there's a change in how individuals invest. They are now considering investing in touristic apartments because they like the service, they like the convenience, they like the profitability, and the golden visa, the changes in the golden visa might accelerate this. But I think it's a trend. On the other hand, I think the people that own homes that they don't use a big part of the year have already started some time ago taking out some profitability with short-term rentals, Airbnbs, and stuff like that. So I think this is. And the link between the touristic market and the rental market in the cities is an obvious issue and is creating problems across Europe, and not only across Europe. So I think there's There's a huge link, a growing link there. We have not seen yet individuals buying hotel rooms in hotels. This happens in other countries, not in Portugal. I'm not sure it will happen here, but the guaranteed return that and the hassle of ownership of a touristic unit, which is managed by someone else, I think is really appealing to individuals. So I see a lot of investment, core investment, opportunistic investment coming in, but I also see a lot of private investment coming in.
And I think in the Spanish market we are seeing exactly the same. I think before you only had a few examples of hotels and villas. Now you have many more successful, because many of them were not successful, where you really build like a destination in itself by having a great hotel with a lot of food and beverage offer, and then you have the villas, and then you service the villas. And they tend to cater, they tend to be successful if they are more like upper scale. So I agree. I think it's a segment that is going to grow. And I think in Portugal, there are certain destinations where it is already working. And, I think the Algarve is one of them. And one of the Tivolis that we have acquired, and Villa Lara has villas. And they've actually been selling during the pandemic. Mm-hmm. So I think it's a very important trend. And it's, for investors, we need to understand both asset classes and understand how to service both and how to make both profitable. So it's a bit of a challenge, but I agree, it is happening.
I will ask Reggie to show how our UCLAP voting is running. So people is quite divided between saying recovering close to 2019 or fully recover or still below. So please do engage and do help us to raise these figures. Is close to a even. And my last question, if there is no questions for audience, is a little bit what is Paul Silva? Yes, Paul.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I have a question that has to do with sustainability. Most of you talked, and whilst we were looking at the presentation made by Luis, what we saw in sustainability was a small dot among 20 approximately, and it was the last one. Didn't we lose an opportunity to refurbish the hotels in order to make it more efficient, more sustainable, whilst they were closed? Are we going to handle this, knowing, and especially taking into account what Cristina mentioned, from the demand side there is a concern that we must be sustainable? How the offer side is going to deal with it? Thank you.
Well, the first question, it was the first part of the question, if we lost the opportunity to invest when we were closed. Well, I think, Paulo, that we didn't have the money for it.
Can I help?
Yeah.
I think that probably 1.5 years ago, I had breakfast with the president of a bank that told me, don't talk to me about hotels.
Yeah.
So there was no money available to finance anything in hotels. There's been very difficult times for the people that owns and invest in hotels in the last couple of years, and with no finance available. So there are miracles, but a few, unfortunately.
Yeah, and the money that will come now is ready for it. So it's the time to do it. And I don't know if I caught the second part of the question, Antonio, but there's one thing that just the question before. I think that the time of the monolithic hotels, even in our cities, if not ending, is changing. So what we see at the Hotel Association, and it is that the new investors, and Portuguese investors, are making mixed products. So they want a part of hostel, a part of hotel, another of prepared for longer stays. I don't know how long, but longer stays with this catering, etc. And bringing the town into the hotel. So these big, huge hotels, business hotels, that we have in Lisbon and Porto also, but especially in Lisbon and other towns in the world, will have to adapt quickly to the new shifts and the new heads of the consumers, even business consumers, and that's what we need the money for.
Yeah.
May I just say one thing? That we've been crying on business hotels, and of course we should, because it's a problem. But I would like to say that in some of the hotels that we have in our group, we had the best August ever. In Six Senses Douro Valley, we had the best August ever. Six Senses Douro Valley is a luxury product, sustainable, couldn't be more sustainable. It's a new luxury. The new luxury is a different thing from what it was in the past. It's an amazing thing, and it's very expensive, and at the best August ever. And is having a tremendous September. So, on one side, the business hotels, that we have a problem, I understand, but I would just like to comment that on the resort side, on the leisure side, we had fantastic good news that changed, the market changed dramatically, very, very sudden. And I think that's important to say also.
We had a very, very good summer. And I think a little bit on the lines of what you're saying, I think whoever doesn't make the necessary investments to have a high-quality, sustainable hotel will suffer in the future. I think there's a flight to quality from investors and from customers. They are more and more demanding. And in our whole portfolio, the most expensive high-end hotels that we have are the ones who have had already the same results or even slightly better than 2019. And it has been a result of increasing ADR and maybe a slightly lower occupancy, but overall, the revenue of the hotel has been already at the level of 2019, only for the most high-end properties.
Yeah, I think there was a phenomenon of a lot of last minutes and a lot less reservations. And when you're at the last minute, you don't bargain on price. Especially at the luxury segments, because maybe people went abroad, but they were paying for more expensive rooms. When they decided they were staying in Portugal, they paid whatever was asked, and that was it. But it was a very interesting phenomenon. Across the Algarve, I think it was pretty standard that the month of August was pretty amazing for everyone.
Fantastic.
So, Margarida, hotels are knocking your door or not?
Yes, never stopped during the pandemic. And we have done some works together, actually, during the pandemic, you know, so...
We've done a lot of work together, and Margarida have designed the most sustainable and beautiful hotel that we are going to develop in Penhalonga in the near future, and it's a beautiful project.
But, thank you, but there is one word that I didn't hear, that none of us mentioned, that I think is a word that should be in our minds when we are looking for a asset for a hotel, that is experience. Where you get the best experiences, so when you, and I didn't answer on the right way when you asked me, yesterday I had a good experience, so I'll never forget. Now we are having a good experience because you put all together and we are enjoying, and this is, you know, so I really, there is nothing more sustainable than redesign and repositioning a building and a hotel, and create loads of revenue because the RevPAR really can go up. So,
well, good experience. It will be the rest of the day, because Neo Turi, who is a very renowned Portuguese tourism consultant, who celebrates 20 years, and so celebrating 20 years anniversary, they will offer us a very special Spanish ham. So waiting for us in the garden with very nice music. And if you want to see the new brand Mercedes EQS is also over there. And please stay with us. Very nice dinner. Fine Cuban cigars are waiting for all of you. So please.
And Antonio, good luck Benfica, no? Good luck Benfica for tonight.
And good luck Benfica.
Thank you.
Many thanks for assisting.